Aloha, good morning. That's always the funnest part. So I'll start. I'll introduce my wife, Sara. She'll be up here in just a minute here, but she's done a lot of cool things. She's really entrepreneurial herself. She's got a lot of background in the nonprofit world. She worked for a nonprofit there in Utah that basically did a lot of work over in Africa. So she worked there for several years, and then she has a lot of music background. She's going to tell you a lot more about this, but she started a little nonprofit there in Utah called Studio Kids, and basically, in a nutshell, they do like drama programs for elementary schools, like as an after-school little program. So it's really cool. It's really successful. They're in, I think, 15 to 20 schools now, and they've got like 600 students. So it's really taken off, and actually, they're turning people down. It could be double or triple that, but she's really made this thing go crazy. So anyways, I'm really proud of her.
Thanks, Brandon. Brandon graduated from BYU with a degree in construction management. But before that, he's been an entrepreneur all his life. He started a little lawn mowing business at the age of 10. And then when he graduated, he worked for his parents for several years who were entrepreneurs, and they did the flip home thing. And Brandon was their go-to work hard guy. So he put up cabinets and did all kinds of things there, and then he started doing it on his own. So for about 12 years now, he's touched all kinds of real estate, doing the flip and fix. He's also does land banking, so he holds land long term, has about 200 acres, I believe, in land. And then, rentals, vacation rentals, all kinds of, and you name real estate, he's touched it in some way, and he's been really successful in providing for our family, and also providing a great service to the community where we live. So that, in a nutshell, is Brandon.
Thanks. All righty, well, I'll kind of give you a little bit of my background and kind of where I got started and how I got into it. It's been kind of a fun ride so far. My younger years, like Sara said, I kind of started out as a little entrepreneur, right? Sold anything from lollipops to golf balls to my very first thing I think I sold was rocks. We went and picked up rocks, and we'd go sell them to all the neighbors. And I remember looking at my friend and telling him, "These guys are idiots. We're getting these rocks out of their yard, and we're making money on them." And it was so funny because obviously they were buying it because we were little cute kids. But anyways, that was kind of funny. That was at a young age. But yeah, I started a lawn mowing business at about the age of 8 or 9. I started with just a little grandma that lived in our ward there, and I basically did it for $5. It was great money for a little kid, and a great deal for her also. That was a good deal then also. But anyways, I learned a lot of really good lessons kind of growing up with that, and I'll kind of go over a few of those here in a minute. Sara mentioned a lot of these other things. I served my mission in the Dominican Republic. So, but yeah, we started a real estate company. When I say we, it's me and my wife. But anyways, we've done a lot of things, from fix and flips to wholesaling houses, where we would find the good deal that looks like garbage, and we'd kind of de-junk them, and then we'd sell it to the investors, mark it up a little bit, but then they were the ones who did the fix-ups kind of thing. So we did a lot of that. Have done a lot of rentals, still own several rentals. We picked up, I'll show you a few pictures, but we picked up a great big house that 9,000 square feet, and we actually rent that out as like a luxury retreat to companies that do their corporate retreats there in Salt Lake also. So that's been kind of fun. I've worked a lot with investors and joint venture partners, so I've kind of done that angle a lot too to help us fund a lot of the things along the way. So it's been a lot of fun. Here's our family. We've got 3 kids, all under the age of 3. We have twins and then a surprise little guy right behind them. So this is a lot of our life with the screaming and mauling and yelling, but this is a lot of our life also. These guys really are a joy, and it makes a lot of this worth it. They've been a lot of fun. So anyways, here's my company. Here's kind of my team, some of the people that work for me. Also, I guess we didn't mention, my company, both Sara's Studio Kids and mine, they run there in Salt Lake. And everything's running, and we kind of escaped the winter months for a few months out here. And we've come to Hawaii a couple of times here, but we can still manage things from afar on the internet. And things like that. So here's just a couple of quick pictures of some of the before and afters of some of the things. Some of these are some of the first houses we've ever done. So you can see that we're always looking for the ugliest thing on the block, and we want to make it the prettiest thing on the block. Buying at the low, selling at the high kind of thing. Here's some kind of a nasty bathroom, and then kind of what we've done. Little basement apartment right there. Kitchens. Here's a living room. Here's the big house I was telling you about. We picked this up a couple years ago. It was in and out of foreclosure several times, half built. The contractor had basically taken all the money off the draws and skipped town and left the lady with the bill. So it was in foreclosure, and the bank just didn't want it. They gave it to us for a really screaming deal. So here's kind of some before and after pictures of this guy. This is the one that we rent out as the the retreat to corporate executives and things like that in Salt Lake. It's really been really profitable and really kind of a fun project. So anyways, that kind of shows you a little bit of kind of where we started and where we are now. We're in the process of buying another lot, and we're going to be building another bigger house like this pretty soon within the next year or two. So, and here's a couple of pictures of some of the vacant land that we own that we have picked up, and it's like Sara said, we're kind of doing it more of a longer-term hold on it. The market's still slow, so we're buying a lot of cheap land and just kind of holding on to it and going to be selling it to developers in the next few years here. So anyways, here's a few of the reasons that I kind of got into entrepreneurship at a young age. I grew up in really, really poor beginnings. My parents didn't have a lot. And I saw some of my friends. I mean, the cool thing when I was a kid was baseball cards. I couldn't get enough of it. So I kind of figured that my allowance wasn't going to pay for what I wanted to do. And so I kind of realized at a young age that if I wanted something, I couldn't sit around and, beg or plead or wait for it. I had to go out and get it. So it was a good lesson for me. And I think it's a great lesson for us as entrepreneurs. If you want something, you need to go out and get it. The quote on the website for the entrepreneurship program here, I loved. I just read it the other day, and it's all about self-sufficiency, and that was another big part of it. I didn't want to have to be a burden for my parents. I wanted to be able to kind of provide for myself, and my lawn mowing business, it brought me all the way through high school and college and paid for my mission and all that kind of stuff. So it was really, really cool to do that. And then obviously to provide for my family, I wanted to be able to make sure we always had a good place to, had a house and food and all that kind of stuff. So here's a few of the lessons that I learned as I went. The first one, I wanted to make sure I hit this first because I think this is a really cool thing. I was at like a seminar convention kind of a thing several years ago, and Michael Gerber was the keynote speaker. He's the author of best-selling book, The E-Myth. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of that. Love that book. I've read it 100 times probably. But anyways, he was talking, and he was going over a lot of the stuff in the book. It was really fascinating. And he kind of stopped and he said, all right, I want you guys to think about this question. And this was kind of a deeper thing. I loved it. He said, what's one of the things that brings the most joy to us here in this life? He says, as entrepreneurs, as people, as everything. And a couple of people raised their hands and gave a few answers. And he said, no. He said, one of the things that brings the most joy, and it's what we do as entrepreneurs, is we create. The ability to create something. And then he started listing examples, and I was kind of thinking of like the church kind of aspect of this and, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, this guy's getting into some really deep stuff here. But I think he hit it right on the head, and I've always remembered that, because as entrepreneurs, we really do create things. We take something that looks like garbage, like these houses, and we make them pretty and give housing to people. We provide food and meals and every business has created something from an idea that started. So anyways, but even as little kids, I see my little kids, they love to color on something and they give it to us and it's their little creation, they build a little sandcastle. It's the coolest thing that they've ever done, And so from a small age like that, even to a 90-year-old person, what do? They brag about their creations, their grandkids and things like that. So anyways, I thought that was a really cool idea, and that really is what we do as entrepreneurs. Sarah's grandfather is always he's on the History Channel. He invented the man-made diamond way back when and patented and all this stuff. And he passed away a few years ago, And it was really cool. One of the things that was said about him was that this man literally changed the world. And you know, they listed all these things that used the man-made diamond, from drill bits to everything. And I sat back in awe and I just thought, wow, this guy really, I mean, we wouldn't have computers or asphalt or anything like that. I thought, I want to be like that, you know, in my own little small way. I want to leave a legacy. I want to create something that makes this world a better place. This lesson right here was my very first lawn mowing job. My mom walked me over to this old lady's house, and I was, you know, pushing this lawnmower. I was this little kid, you know. And anyway, right before we got to the house, she said, all right, you've already negotiated the price. There's no more negotiations. There's no doing half a job. You give it your all. You give it your best. And so that was a good lesson. But also, she told me, something else that you need to know, Brandon, is that you're putting our family's name on this job. And she really looked at me and she said, you better do a good job. You know, do your very best. And I never forgot that, and I always made sure I did the best job. And I ended up getting like 20 other grandma's lawns in that neighborhood within like a week or two. It just went gangbusters, and between the really low, cheap labor price and me doing a good job, I was this rich little kid that I loved it. You know, I had a great time. So, rich meaning I made like $40 a week. So. Anyways, and then always make it better. Always, I still do this with my businesses. I'm always looking for ways to cut costs or make our product better, make things smoother or faster or quicker or easier. Every business is always doing that. Take action. This is so huge. I heard this equation a while ago, and I absolutely love it, because you take any one of these parts out of this equation, and really you can't have a success. If you're not prepared, if I look at any of these houses or some of the things that I've done, if I wasn't prepared, mentally, or maybe if I didn't have money in the bank or an investor to help me pay for it, or if I didn't know how to do it, if the opportunity comes and presents itself, there's nothing I could have done, even if I would have acted on it. So. And I love that quote by Wayne Gretzky. I miss 100% of the shots I don't take. And it's true. I mean, a lot of the times it's just getting out there, and you kind of figure it out as you go a lot, But this is a really important thing I've always loved. Dream big. Everybody knows Walt Disney and what he's done. Sara and I read a biography on Walt Disney a few years back and just loved it. This guy was a dreamer, And we were sitting in Disneyland shortly thereafter, and we were just eating lunch, and Sara looked at me and she said, "Can you imagine one person has dreamed this whole thing?" And it kind of gave me the shivers. I was like, "Holy cow, you're right." And when he kind of started all this was an age that didn't have cartoons, didn't have little kid stuff, So it really has hit me hard that I thought, yeah, this is from one person, and obviously many people since, but. He dreamed big, Donald Trump, I know some people like him, some people don't, but me being in real estate, I've read a bunch of his books. And anyways, he started huge right out the gate. He came from real estate background, but his first deal was this giant building that's worth billions of dollars. And he just put it together with partners and things like that. And he went huge right out the gate. So it's kind of been a good example for that also. I know a lot of these things are kind of cliches that we hear and we read about them, but I've read so many books on different things, and a lot of them say a lot of these same things, but they're true. Goals are incredibly, incredibly important. One of the things I kind of learned a few years back is to write your goals often, and if you can, every day. I still do quite often, but I'd write out my top 10 goals every single day. And it was cool because it's always a fresh memory. It's always helping you to remember what's most important in your life. Not just your business goals or your financial goals, but your family goals and your spiritual life. All these things are important to have a well-balanced life. So plan your life and live your plan. It's funny because I look back at some of the goals I set 8 or 9 years ago when we were first married, and it was to do 2 houses, some of these things. And now I look back and it's just like, holy cow, as I keep pushing myself and as I keep setting more goals and pushing it and growing. It's kind of cool to see where you've gone through the years kind of thing too. Persistence is huge. Never give up. But a lot of the times you're right on the 5-yard line and you're about ready to score that goal and you can't quite see it yet. It's kind of scary sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to, we've had several ups and downs in our business through the years, and there's been several times it's like, holy cow, are we gonna make the bills this month? And we kind of pulled out of it. But I also put this little caveat, but know when to throw in the towel. Sometimes it's important that you see the big picture, that sometimes, a business fails. And there's been a couple little small ventures we've kind of done, and they've kind of flopped. It's like, all right, we learned, and we move on to the next one, Kind of an example I have in one of the first years of my business, me and Sara were still in an apartment. We were renting, really, low capital, low money, and we were sitting on 7 houses. We'd fixed all these things up. We had them on the market, and we hit the slow time of year in Salt Lake when it's snowy, bad weather, December and January, bad time to be trying to sell a house, super slow. So we had 7 mortgage payments that we were scrimping, trying to make sure we don't go behind and protect our credit. And we ended up having to move in with our parents for a couple of months, and then we just kept waiting, and we knew that all of our numbers were good and that we'd made good investments. We just had to wait on it and just kind of bite the bullet and figure out a way. Credit cards kind of came in handy a little bit, and then one by one, boom, they all sold, and it was awesome. We just kept going from there, and we got to move out of our parents' house again. That was awesome. So anyways, I'm getting close on time. Let me just finish a couple more of these. Read. I can't say enough about this. I heard this quote from a friend of mine. He actually graduated with a PhD, and this first quote was from his father. And I don't know if he got this from somebody else, but he said, all right, son, there's 2 types of people that graduate from college. Those who think they have learned everything they need to know, and those who realize how little they know and they keep learning. And he says, which one do you want to be? Do you want to continue and grow and be successful, or do you want to be the kind of person who thinks you know everything and you kind of stop your growth? And then, the other quote's kind of fun. These are some of the things I recommend that you keep reading. Anything in your industry, anything about business, sales, or marketing, those are all absolutely critical. Let me skip a couple. I kind of talked about this. As you're going, enjoy the journey. It's really fun to enjoy this with your family and your wife and your kids, or your husband, sorry. But Sarah's been the best wife of all time. She's always been the most supportive, even sometimes when I've had, in the initial years, these crazy ideas. Let's go fix up a house and sell it, but she's always been really supportive, and you really need to be on the same team with your spouse, and you really need to make sure that you enjoy the little things as you go also. Make sure you always include God in your business and your dealings. I love the scripture. I think it's in Alma that it talks about. It's just a big list of everything that you should pray over your life and your house and your family. And it includes these things to pray over your flocks and your fields. And I've always taken that to heart, that I really, there's some of the deals out there that I thought they were good, and I've everything in my mind told me to do it, and I prayed about it, and I was told not to, and things kind of fizzled out with it. And I look back and I see some of the good decisions that I was able to make because God was helping me out. And I'll just end with this last one. Always be honest, ethical, and nice. The honesty and ethical, those are really obvious. The nice one, I think, gets overlooked sometimes. People want to do business with an honest person. They want to buy things from an honest person or a friendly or nice person. So those are all really important. So anyways, here's my contact info. If any of you guys have any questions, or if you guys want to get into the real estate thing, or need any help, or are looking at a deal, even if it's 10 years down the road, keep my number and my email address. I'm more than happy to help you out, look at it with you, and tell you, yeah, I would do this or I wouldn't, kind of thing. Anyways, go out and get them. Entrepreneurship's fun. It's scary sometimes. You need to get through the bumps sometimes, but it really is a fun journey. So anyways, I'm going to turn the time over to my beautiful wife here, and she can tell you about what she's doing. I'll let you pull this off. I can't get it.
I got it. You don't want to snag your tie. Oh, I got your tie. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second here.
Yeah, right there.
Aloha. Just get myself set up here. Okay, well, Brandon and I have kind of a unique. Brandon has, because of his commitment and devotion to his own business, he has respected my dreams and my commitment and devotion to the nonprofit sector, which is the majority of where my experience and background has fallen. And it took us we were 6 years into our marriage before we had our kids. We had a hard time having children. And so we shared a lot of time back and forth in allowing each other to explore our dreams. And so when he was talking about me being a support to him, he's been an extreme example of being a supportive husband as well, and allowing me to pursue my own goals and dreams and accomplish what I had hoped to do. So I'm going to talk to you today about Studio Kids, which is I'm the founder and executive director for, and it's a nonprofit organization that focuses in music, dance, and theater. And in most states across the nation, music and arts education has been one of the things that has suffered budget-wise in public education because of the budget cuts and the lack of funding for that particular department. So I kind of stumbled in. I'll tell you a little bit how I got started. This is what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today. Social entrepreneurship. I'm going to tell you about Studio Kids, background, how we got started, some of the challenges, finding your place. I know that many of you are interested in being entrepreneurs, and I'm going to talk to you about finding your particular place in the world and in entrepreneurship, and then investing in talent, a little bit about strategic planning, and then balancing work and family from a woman's perspective. So social entrepreneurship, as many of you probably already know, a social entrepreneur recognizes a social problem and uses entrepreneurial principles to organize and create and manage a venture to achieve social change. So I happened to stumble into this need, how the public education, the arts funding wasn't there, and I had a PTA mom approach me and ask if I would start an after-school music program at their school because they didn't have a choir and they didn't have anything. And so I went ahead and did that, and it was kind of just a volunteer thing, and I got really excited about it. And before I knew it, the school, the next block over, the principal was calling me and saying, "Hey, can you bring that program to our school?" And then another principal called me, and another, and another, and another. And before I knew it, I had all of these schools, and I was the sole teacher teaching these elementary schools. So here's just kind of a picture of some of the kids. It evolved from just music to music and dance program, and then a music, dance, and theater program. So we teach 3 art forms in our program, and allow the kids to explore their creativity and develop confidence in the arts. And it's a really amazing thing to watch these kids fall in love with music and dance and theater, and create an identity for themselves and feel better about themselves as they explore this part of their lives. And it just operates as an after-school program once a week in the elementary schools, and it's become really popular. Here's another picture that we did the Adventures of Finding Nemo, and we add songs and dances, and it's really fun. The kids have a blast. We did kind of a censored version of Mamma Mia. The kids had a blast doing that. So back to the really wonderful challenge of having a lot of interest in my program, but I had a full plate. I was operations, I was answering the telephone, responding to all the parents' emails, teaching all the programs myself and trying to do some marketing and handling all the financing and tuition for the kids. And before I knew it, I was entirely overwhelmed and consumed with trying to manage every single aspect of a business. And because it was not for profit, it added, just another element of making sure we do things the right way legally with the financing and applying for the nonprofit status. And anyway, it was a lot on my plate. It was a wonderful problem to have, though. Luke 14:28 says, "For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it?" And cost, a lot of the times, we think about the financial cost of starting a business, and that definitely is something to consider. But also, you need to think about your, mental, physical, and emotional energy, your education and training, and whatever it takes to accomplish the task. And because there was such popularity in this program, I was kind of doing this backwards. But I took a look at Studio Kids and all of the facets all the parts that needed to be moving in order to make this a successful not-for-profit organization, and I just couldn't do it all. And about that time, we found out that we were pregnant with twins. So they added one more element to my life that was very, very exciting, but definitely added a little craziness on top of that. So Brandon kind of introduced you to our family already, but this is Jack. He was born 6 pounds 3 ounces and beautiful and healthy, and he was born first, and his twin sister Jasmine was born at 7 pounds 3 ounces, and she's an adorable, darling little girl, and we were very excited to have them. And here's a picture of them at 7 days old. So let's return to this scripture again. So, for which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost? You're probably wondering why I'm crying, but my dreams, my goals, my passion was for this not-for-profit Studio Kids and providing music, dance, theater education for all of these kids and having it grow rapidly. And all of a sudden I had a dual purpose in life, or more than a dual purpose. My priorities shifted, and here I had these precious little children from the Heavenly Father that were handed to me, and it was an interesting time in my life where, as a mother, I had to decide what path to take. For a long time, it felt like, I had to choose one or the other. But gratefully, again, with our unique situation in Brandon not providing well for our family, it allowed him to step in and be a little bit of Mr. Mom and allow me to sit down and count the cost and not abandon this wonderful creation Studio Kids that was providing such a remarkable service to our community, but to finish building it, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute, put it at a place where I could move on and take 100% of the child rearing. So I don't know. Okay, so let's just talk about purpose of meaning. So for me, deciding where I wanted to be, I'm going to talk about it in two aspects: motherhood, and then also here in the nonprofit sector or entrepreneurial ways. So here, having this full plate, trying to manage every aspect of the business, I had to ask myself, okay, where's my passion? Okay, my passion is in teaching. I loved teaching those kids and seeing the light in their eyes when they fell in love with music. But I was a new mom, and it was just too much for me to be away from the kids, teaching all the time. And so I asked myself, where are my talents? And my talents are, I have a degree in public management with a nonprofit emphasis from BYU. And my talents are in management. And so I was able to step away from teaching day to day and hire really great teachers and reorganize the business so that I could do less and be a really great mom at the same time. And because I was able to do management, I was able to work while my kids were sleeping, or early in the morning or late at night, because it didn't matter. I was able to take the things off my plate that were restricted to daytime hours and be able to still continue this love that I had for nonprofit. So you can see, so these are things for you to consider when you're starting a business. Where are your passions, where are your strengths, where are your talents, and then where you're interested in learning and growing. But choose wisely where to invest your time, talent, and energy, and let others do the things that you struggle to do or that you're not interested in doing. The best thing I did for Studio Kids was to hire a program director who was better than me. And that was an intimidating thing. I was hiring this girl who had worked with celebrities' children in the arts, teaching them theater. And she had sung with some Celine Dion. She had toured New York. She was a star at Disney. And I sat in this interview with her and thought, oh my goodness, she should be hiring me. She should be my boss, really. She's just amazing woman, real talent for teaching. But the best thing I did was to hire her, and she was able to take the program aspect of Studio Kids to a level that I took it to a really great level, but the reputation of our Studio Kids program is beyond what I could have created, and that is something for you to note in yourselves. Recognize where, don't be afraid to hire the best, and kind of swallow your pride and not allow yourself to, allow your business to grow to the best that it can be because you hire the best. And so that was one of the best things I did for Studio Kids, and we have an office manager now, and we have 12 teachers and assistant teachers, and it allows me to come to Hawaii and focus on my family and be involved to a level that I'm interested in being involved in, allowing the business to work and run itself beyond myself. So as Brandon had mentioned earlier, when our twins were 7-month-old, we were elated to discover that we were pregnant again. So we had a third little boy, and his name is Caden, and he was born at 8 pounds, 10 ounces, a big little guy, and we love him to death. But again, a reminder that where are my priorities? Where do they need to be? So kind of as I've already touched on, creating a model that can exist without you is the best risk management plan that you can have for any kind of endeavor. So I have come to the point where I've been able to be involved in creating the models for my not-for-profit to run itself without requiring me to be there full-time, which allows me to focus on my biggest priority, which is my family. And as many of you know, probably as entrepreneurs yourselves in some capacity, there's always more to do. So you take something, off your plate, and then something else arrives, right? So I'm actually at a stage in the process now with Studio Kids where I will be hiring a new executive director, and I will function as a part-time consultant, or maybe just sit on the board for a couple of years so that I can continue to nurture this baby, this nonprofit baby of mine, but allow it to continue to grow and serve the needs of the community and do good things in the hearts and minds of children in Utah in music, dance, and theater without me, and allow me to spend this precious time with my little family and then hopefully someday I can re-involve myself in it, or in some, use my skills and talents in some other way. And then, so that's strategic planning, really, planning your business so that worst case scenario, whether you give it 4 years of your life and you end up retiring, working in the same venture, or if you step aside and allow, start another business or whatever's of interest to you. So these are just some ways that you can do that strategic planning, do a strengths, weaknesses, or threats and opportunities analysis. Best practices, you can find those online, or consult with experts, shadow a successful NGO or business, and plan, do some risk management planning up front so you have a good strategy. So this is our family now, and I kind of wanted to end on this note. This is D&C 58, 27, 28. For verily I say, men should be engaged in a good cause, and do many things of their own free will, and bring to pass much righteousness. For the power is in them, wherein they are agents unto themselves. You each have a specific, unique gift within each of you to make the world a better place. And I think sometimes fear, or being overwhelmed with the tasks, or whatever it may be, or even someone telling you you can't do it, overshadows this great gift that God has given to us, to allow us to use our agency to do good things and create good things. And I think Brandon hit it right on the head when he was talking about creation. So go forth and serve, and create wonderful businesses that impact lives and generations. And the power is in you. God has told us himself. So we thank you so much for allowing me to come, and I appreciate your time. And I guess I'll invite Brandon to come back up here, and we'll open the question and answers for you. Sure. Yeah.
Any questions for either one of us?
We just told you everything you ever wanted to know.
Sure. Yeah, right here.
Oh, so is the theater for the kids a branch or just one studio? So it functions as an after-school program. So we actually go into the elementary school in one of their classrooms, or their gymnasium, or their auditorium, or whatnot, and teach the class on site for the kids directly after school.
Let me touch on that. It was a really cool model, just because when we kind of initially came up with it, because renting a studio, a lot of the places have that, and it's just a lot of overhead, a lot of things up front that we weren't really willing to risk or anything like that. So it worked out great. We were, into it really low up front, and it started kind of paying for itself, kind of thing, right as it went. So.
Yeah, it created a very affordable tuition price for participating, parents that are paying for their children to participate. So that their tuition covers the cost, not of, most of the general overhead isn't funded by the tuition, but it's general, the tuition price funds the costumes and the sets and the makeup and scripting and all of that. So, any other questions?
Question to Brendan.
Yeah.
You said you are specialized in real estate entrepreneurship. Could you explain about what is the highest risk that involved in real estate business?
The highest
risk.
what? Risk?
The risk that involved in
For real estate, for what I do, there are several risks. One of the biggest risks that I found, because I've kind of been through it now, through some of the slow markets and some of the really booming markets now, and I saw that there were a ton of people that got into it when the market was booming, kind of thing, which is no big deal. But one of the things that I saw a lot of people going out of business and losing houses to foreclosure and things like that was they kind of broke the rule. I'm super conservative. Like whatever the fixed up value is, I'm buying at like 60, 70% of that kind of thing. And I've got an equation. Again, if you email me or call me, I can tell you more about it. But a lot of these people were buying houses at like full price or just barely below it. They still had to fix it up, and they were kind of banking on it appreciating, which the appreciation was kind of going. But my opinion was, I'm doing my numbers, and if I get appreciation out of it, cool. But if not, I'm not. I don't know if that makes sense. So. But again, I mean, rentals is a longer term thing, so you're kind of banking on appreciation, you know. So that's a big thing. Running into some problems, you know, in the fix-up process of houses that, you know, end up being more expensive. I usually had a little bit of a cushion in there so that, you know, a furnace went out, and it was an extra $3,000. So I was kind of prepared for it. If it came up, I could pay for it and still profit on it. If it didn't, that was a little bit extra profit out of the deal. So those are a couple of the top ones, I think.
I wanted to know, do you only do real estate in Utah, like in the Salt Lake area, or do you only do residential? Or, I mean, you know, I know you have land, you said.
Yeah.
What else are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm just in the Salt Lake Valley there. I know some people go all over the place. I kind of like the philosophy of just staying in your backyard where you know it the best. So that's worked out really well for me. We've done some small developing kind of thing, which I guess is kind of residential, kind of commercial also. A lot of the land stuff. And then the retreat house is somewhat commercial, I guess. But so a little bit of all of that. Does that kind of answer your question? Yeah. Okay, cool.
So when you give a rental, when you charge the clients, do you charge the fixed price on the high cost area and the low cost area and medium cost area, or do you give a variance when you charge your clients? You give them according to the economy of it?
Yeah. In real estate, everything is very I mean, you always hear location, right? So I mean, some of these houses in Salt Lake are $100,000. If they're here in Hawaii, they're $500,000. You know, so it's all depending on, you know, the area and the market and your neighborhood kind of thing. But what I've always found is every single neighborhood has the high comps and the low comps. The high comps are the gorgeous houses that are fixed up and beautiful and nice, and the low comps are the foreclosures and the ugly things that stink and smell and have the cats running out the windows. And so what I always look for are the areas that had a big spread so that I could, you know, there were some valid high comps and there were some valid low comps. So I knew I could buy low in that area and sell, and as long as my numbers worked out, that's, you know, some neighborhoods don't work for it. Some neighborhoods are great for it. So it's really kind of by location.
Where is your retreat house?
It's in Harriman, actually, there. So it's the southwest. It's about a half hour from Salt Lake. So,
I have one question.
yeah.
Since you are running a non-profit organization, when you compare from your husband running a profit organization, what's the difference do you see? What do you find? Like, what kind of benefits do you find in those kind of business? When you consider a non-profit
That's a really, really great question. So he's asking what's the difference between Brandon's business and the nonprofit, so for-profit and nonprofit. So I'll take you back to this even Wikipedia definition here at the beginning. But what I look for is what kind of social change I'm creating, if I am achieving our mission in providing a quality service for the individuals. And Brandon's business does that to a certain degree too, but profit margins are something, obviously, you know, I have to consider and whatnot, but I measure performance not by the returns necessarily, but by how much good I'm creating in the community. So it takes a little bit of the focus off of creating a profit and measures success by what kind of social change or what kind of good that I can create for people. in.
I just have one question about how your company is structured your real estate one, like for tax purposes and stuff, like how do you have that set up?
Yeah, so I've got an S corp. I actually, again, this is a good question. I could go on for hours, but I do a lot of my investing in my Roth IRA. Actually, it's self-directed Roth IRA where you tell it what to invest in, and it's incredible for taxes and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, if you want more information, I can tell you a company that's great that does it, and I can tell you more about it. It's awesome. So. But it's kind of interesting with the real estate because you've got kind of two parts. You've got the legal asset protection part of it that, you don't want to be sued by renters and things like that, but you've also got the tax planning part of it. So it's kind of two things that you always have to kind of keep a balance, so, yeah.
So you're funding all of your projects through your Roth IRA?
No, well, I mean, I do partnerships with my Roth IRA. There's ways that you can be really creative. But, funding on a lot of our projects, we've had a lot of investors and partners come along through the years that have helped us out. Some of it's just some of the stuff that we've made that we keep. We live pretty frugally. Somebody gave us advice in college that he said, when you graduate, you're going to have the biggest pay jump. If you could keep living like a student and don't go out and buy the fancy cars or the big houses and all that stuff, just it's sufficient for your needs. And we've kind of always done that. We just keep rolling stuff, and it just keeps growing. It's kind of fun. So,
Maybe one or two more questions at most. We're going to kind of wrap up.
How did you get investors? I mean, is it a period of time that you spent networking, or is it something that you kind of
just
went to with sources?
yeah. The question is, how did I get investors? Just through the years, having a successful track record, and it was a lot of networking, a lot of just people hearing that I was doing all right in real estate and wanting to get involved kind of thing. So, and then they start talking to their friends because investors know other investors, and then all of a sudden it kind of starts to snowball. So in the beginning, it was pulling teeth because I didn't have any money in the bank, and we were doing it with credit cards kind of thing, so. But through the years, it's really, people kind of come out of the woodworks, so.
Well, and to kind of answer that question too, he has a formal pitch for each project that he's working on. So, if a friend of a friend says, hey, I might be interested in that, he's got it all set up so that day or within an hour or however, because finding investors sometimes is time sensitive. So he's pre-prepared to be able to relay the information regarding whatever project quickly, so.
Yeah. In the back? One more?
Yeah, just a quick question. You said earlier about the good that you create with that social entrepreneurship business, and that's kind of how you measure if the business is doing well. How do you quantify good? Is it in the amount of students that are participating, or like what's the number, the value that you give to quantifying that?
So the question was how do I quantify the good that's created? And that's a really great question. I think to a certain level, the board of directors is responsible for making sure that happens. But yes, we do quantify it in growth has a lot to do with it, the popularity of our program. And as Brandon mentioned in the beginning, just that the need is there enough that we're getting calls. We could easily double what we're doing if we had the capacity for it, and we're trying to grow quickly. So, yes, the number of students, but also the level of expertise that our teachers have in providing very high quality education to the students is another way that we measure our success, how many kids we reach, but the quality of the performance, or the performances at the end of the semester, but also the day-to-day curriculum. So if that answers your question a little bit.
Great. Let's thank Frank.
Thank you.